everyone. Thank you for coming for HKBU's webinar today. And before we start, just a quick introduction of Professor Christy Chung. She is one of our very decorated professors at our School of Business. And she primarily is in the field of finance and decision science. So next up, the flow of the day will be, we will start with quick sessions, about 20 to 25 minutes from Professor Christy Chung. And after that, we will have a Q&A of about 5 to 10 minutes. So if any of you have any questions with regards to the presentation, please feel free to use the Q&A tab and also the chat tab to leave your questions. We will find time for Q&A after the presentations. And then after the first part of the presentations, second part, I myself will be delivering a quick introduction about HKBU. And then also towards the end, we will leave some questions about admissions related questions to the last part of today's webinar. So without further ado, I'll just pass on the screen to Professor Chung.
Thank you very much, Thank. So I share my screen. Okay. So I hope you see the screen, right? Okay, good afternoon, everyone. So I know there's some international students, so good morning or good evening, everyone. So welcome to the webinar for HKBU 2021. So I'm from the School of Business, as Frank mentioned. So you can see from the logo, so we are promoting be a responsible business leader. So that's why for my talk, I focus on the responsible use of information technologies. And I'm going to share a project about the collective trolling on social media. So before I start my sharing, I want to briefly introduce myself to you. So I am from the Department of Finance and Decision Sciences. So I'm not the finance person, okay? Don't ask me all this stock or investment. No, I'm not good at those things. So I'm more on the management information systems. So that's why I studied like IT usage. And then I also take care of the PhD program. So in case you plan for your PhD study, you can also contact me. Okay, I'm looking after the PhD program. And I also serve the community as the president for the Association of Information Systems, the Hong Kong chapter. And I'm also the editor-in-chief for the journal Internet Research. So it's also my honor to be the world's top 2% researchers in terms of my publications citations. Recently, I received a grant from the Hong Kong government, Research Grants Counselor, the Senior Research Fellow. So this fellowship support me to do a project about the collective deviant behavior on social media. And that is something related to the talk of today. So this is basically my research interest. As I say, I focus more on the responsible use of information technologies. So I look at IT and user behavior, IT use and societal implications. I also focus on social media and some research on e-commerce, okay? So these are basically my research interests. And for today, I really focus on the grant, the fellowship that I received from the government. It's about cyber mobbing on social media. So which is related to the cyber, the online trolling behavior. So let's start. Why so important to understand social media behavior? So think about our own daily life, think about your daily life. So how much time you spend on social media? You don't know, right? You didn't count. Maybe you can't with your Apple apps, you can count how much time you spend on social media. But actually there's a research saying that if you live until 72 years old, basically you spend around 6 years and 8 months on social media. And then on average, we spend about 2 hours, 24 minutes on social media. So this study actually tried to like break down the number by continent. So from the number, you can see people from South America, they spend the most time on social media. And then people from Europe, they seem to spend the least time, like 1 hour and 15 minutes. And then people in Asia, like me, okay, so we spend about 2 hours and 60 minutes. So think about yourself, how much time you spend on social media? For me, I do spend quite a lot because, of course, I have some excuse. So one of the reasons is because I'm doing research on social media. I want to understand user behavior. I want to see what they post, what they say, what they do. So that's why I spend quite a lot of time on social media platform. So again, you may also realize that during the pandemic, actually people spend even more time on social media. So these are some of the statistics you can see, okay? All these popular platforms, they all have the increased usage during the past years, during the pandemic time. Because think about all this lockdown, all this social distancing, right? So we kind of rely on social media to connect with other people. We need the social media to stay connected and to exchange information. Maybe you need to know where to buy the mask, where to buy the toilet papers. So sometimes you get those information from social media. Because of social distancing, you may not be able to visit your grandparents, your friends, your family. Maybe you also rely on social media to connect with them, right? So this is why during the pandemic, people really spend more time on these platforms. So what's the problem? The challenging part is researchers, professors keep saying that the platform itself actually facilitates trolling behavior, make the behavior more persuasive or more severe. So if you're still a Facebook user, because I know most of you are quite like young, right? So you may not use Facebook, but if you use Facebook, so you may see all this calling and naming, right? So trying to call out somebody and then say something mean to the person. So sometimes the trolling is not just for individuals. Sometimes it's also for the brand, for some companies. So we have an example. This case is quite some time ago for McDonald's. So they launched a campaign on Twitter. So they asked people to share some experience like with McDonald's. So it's become a firestorm. People don't really say something nice about the good experience of McDonald's. Somehow they say something really nasty and then make people feel really bad. So these are trolling. The trolling is not just for individuals. Sometimes it's also targeting brands, celebrity, or some companies. So it's challenging. So I keep saying the term troll, right? Trolling, what it is. So of course, I try to look for the dictionary. So it's telling me that troll actually is referring to an imaginary, either very large or very small creatures in traditional Scandinavian stories that has the magical powers and lives in mountains or caves, something like this. Doesn't seem very appealing, right? But maybe in your age, I know there's a cartoon about the trolls. I haven't watched it before. Maybe you have watched it. These guys seem quite cute, quite lovely, right? So I don't know, maybe they're lovely and cute. But troll actually is an internet slang, basically saying that it's referring to a person who provokes other user with an intention to elicit negative responses. For example, make people feel sad, hurt, angry, and feel bad. Okay, so these are the troll. It's a person that try to evoke or provoke other people negative emotions. So are you a troller or accidentally become a troller? Think about your own experience of using social media. Did you say something mean and then later on you regret and you say something that you won't have said in person? Don't worry, I won't ask you, okay? But just think about your own experience. It seems quite common people just say things without thinking, right? When you are on social media. And research saying that during Sunday and Monday night, from 10 p.m. to 3 a.m., is the most likely time people turn into trolls. So in case you don't want to be mean, okay, maybe you avoid those time on social media. Okay, but why this topic deserves our attention? Because collective trolling do have all these negative consequences to the victims, especially when we say trolling is not just one-to-one. It's a lot of time it's a group of people try to harass one person or one group of people. So for the victim, basically you experience the multiple offense from a group of people that make you difficult to fight back. And studies saying that these negative consequences, I mean, these victims will suffer from depression, social anxiety. In some extreme case, they may even kill themselves. So that's why this is a topic, this is something that deserves our attention. So we refer to literature. We found that anonymity is something related to abusive behavior. So I think this is a very famous cartoon, everyone know it, right? When you take your, I know, integrated science or computer science course, the first thing they tell you, right? On the internet, nobody knows you are a dog. So that means you can be anonymous when you're on the internet. You can be, okay? This doesn't mean you are, okay? You can be anonymous during when you're on the internet. So research saying that when people think they are anonymous, they tend to act rudely, aggressively, or even illegally when they are unknown, when they are not identified. Okay, so this is one thing, okay, anonymity. Second thing is when people in a crowd, okay, a crowd of people like this, they also will react or they also behave more aggressively or more offensively because these people will feel that they're anonymous in the crowd. Just like this, right? If you're one of this guy, so you may feel that you are not, you may not be able, I mean, people won't be able to identify you. So you feel that you are anonymous. So this anonymity also make you act more aggressively. Actually, there's an experiment trying to see how people drive. So they found that people drove more aggressively when driving in a car with tinted windows. That means the window is like with the color, like dark brown, all these things. So people will drive more aggressively. That means because they feel that, oh, they're anonymous, they feel that they're not identifiable. So this is what we found in our research, not my research, but in other research. So that's why in this study, I want to understand why people will engage in collective trolling on social media. So particularly, I look at the role of anonymity and the role of being in a crowd. So I especially focus on the concept called collective trolling. This concept referring to a form of collective action that involve an organized group to act aggressively to individuals or groups. That means it's a group behavior, it's a collective behavior. People work together to abuse another person, okay? So on Reddit, so I'm not sure you use Reddit or not, or you experience or look for information from Reddit or not. There are many trolling campaigns on Reddit, especially to have some subreddits or these sub-communities. So there's one famous example is there's one Reddit called, they launch all these trolling campaigns from time to time to against female gamers. So, so they act together and they target all these female gamers and users. So trolling is a collective behavior. That's why in this study, we look at this like why people do it together. So that's why we have the concept of like shared intentions, collective intention, and we intentions, because we believe that trolling is not an individual behavior, especially in a group. It's basically is a we intention, a group of people doing something together. That's why we have this research model. Don't be scared by this, okay? This is just an illustration of how we understand the phenomenon. So we want to understand we intention to participate in collective trolling. This is the right-hand side, the dependent variable. So we see it as collective actions. We want to see why people involve or engage in collective trolling. And then as you remember, I just mentioned anonymity is something related to abusive behavior, is something related to some deviant behavior. So in this study, I look at anonymity, okay, because this is like a kind of like on the social media platform, we want to see what kind of technical element will influence people collective trolling. So when I introduce the concept of, let me see, maybe this one, okay. So when we think about anonymity, actually, I will look at this as two mechanisms. So because you see the example I show you, the picture I show you, we say, oh, anonymity, nobody knows you're a dog, right? So, but the concept anonymity can be understood by two, can be derived into two concepts. The first one is anonymity of self. So you feel that you yourself is anonymous to others. So when you're on Reddit, when you're on Twitter or maybe Facebook, so you feel that you're anonymous. Okay, you yourself is anonymous. So if you feel that you are anonymous, it's very likely that you will have the feeling that you feel very relaxed. Okay, you feel that you are not identifiable. So that's why you have the feeling of online disinhibitions. So this will influence you to engage in some bad behavior, for example, collective trolling. And another type of anonymity is anonymity of others. So when you're on a social media platform, so it's not you yourself, right? So you also have other users. So in some platform, actually, you also feel that other users are anonymous to you because you don't see their face, you don't see their profile picture, you don't have much information about those people. So they are just some other users in the same Reddit, for example, right? So if you have the feeling that other people are being anonymous, it's likely that you will have a very strong feeling that you are the same group of people. You're the same identity. This group thinking will help you to facilitate you to engage in some bad behavior. This is collective trolling. So think about this, okay? So when you are using Reddit, so you can create your personal profile, right? So your personal profile can be really quite anonymous, right? So you just use any image icon, not necessarily your own portrait, right? Not necessarily your own picture. And then your profile, you don't need to release a lot of your personal information. That's why when you create a digital profile on Reddit, maybe you don't feel you are anonymous. Maybe you feel that you're anonymous to other people. You are unidentifiable. Okay, so that's why when people think that they are anonymous, they're likely to do something. They're more relaxed. They're more likely to say something mean, something abusive, or something aggressive. And then anonymity of others. So when you're using Reddit, for example, so you yourself, you feel you're anonymous. But at the same time, you see other users in your community like this, right? Just some icon, some icon like this. So you don't feel that they are a person. They're anonymous to you, right? You feel that they are just some other users in the same community. But that's why if you feel that other users are also anonymous, it's very likely that you feel that this is a group, okay? We have the social identity, we are the same group of people. So that's why you can see from the model. So I look at anonymity in two dimensions. One is anonymity of self. The other one is anonymity of others. And these two anonymity actually go through two different mechanisms to influence people collective trolling. So that's why you recall that some studies in okay, anonymity affect people abusive behavior, but they don't quite explain why, right? So now we try to explain to you that actually anonymity have two different types. One is the self, one is the other. But these two types of anonymity actually have to go through different mechanisms. And then these two mechanisms influencing why people engage in collective trolling. And then of course, for all these social media platforms, they have all this guardianship, they have the control and monitoring. So we also want to see this environmental factor, whether this will inhibit or encourage more trolling behavior. So that's why we also include something like the environmental factor. This is something that whether the social media platform can implement some monitoring or control system. So this is basically a summary of the research model. Okay, so as I say, I focus on collective trolling. I want to understand this as a collective action. So it's not just one person. When a person involved in trolling, they think that they're doing something together with other users. And then I try to understand from the design. So the platform, the social media platform allow you and allow other users to be anonymous. And then how this will influence the collective trolling, not just directly, but also going through some mechanism. So this is basically the research model that I am looking at. So to test the research model, I conduct an online survey. So basically, I collect the data from Amazon Mechanical Turk, we call it MTurk, and we only include those Reddit users to participate in the survey. The reason we choose Reddit because this is a very well-known social media that have a lot of interest group, okay, a lot of interest group. And then this is also, I mean, this platform is also very famous for all these deviant behaviors. So it's easier for us to find our respondents. So after all this screening, filtering, so we have 377 valid responses to answer our questionnaire. And then you can see majority of respondents are male, and then they are between 25 to 24. And then most of them have a bachelor degree, and then they have full-time job. So these are our respondents. And then we use the data to test the research model. So this is the result. Don't worry about the number or figures. Just try to see the line. So some dot line mean these are not significant. Okay, there's no impact. There's no direct effect between an anonymous and collective trolling. So basically, this model suggests that when people feel anonymous, so they have to go through some psychological mechanism in order to do the collective trolling. It's not like if I feel anonymous, then I would do trolling. No, the person still have to go through some psychological mechanism. They have to feel that, oh, I am relaxed. Okay, I feel relaxed. I feel relaxed to say thing out. Or I feel that we are doing things together with my group. Then this kind of psychological feeling will help or facilitate a person to engage in collective trolling. And then in terms of the guardianship, that means the control and mechanism. So you can see it doesn't have an effect on social identity and the collective trolling. So this is something I think is important to see, okay? Why control? Guardianship you can see as a control or monitoring. Why this doesn't have an effect, or why this doesn't inhibit people to do collective trolling. So one of the suggestions is that all these idea about groupthink, when people or when the member think that they are in a group, they cherish their membership. They think that they are in a group. They don't feel that they act. I mean, they will underestimate the action of their consequences. So that is something very, I mean, these days people really focus on. It's about the crowd, it's about the group behavior. When a person in a group, they tend to forget about themselves. Okay, they will see what the group actions, what the group are doing, and then they tend to underestimate the consequences. Especially they think, oh, if the group do it, then it should not be something too bad. We all do it together. We share the responsibility together. So that's why all this they even ignore all this control and monitoring. They think, okay, no problem. We just follow the group. Okay, that's why this is something we need to think about. I mean, the groupthink phenomenon. So of course, from the research perspective, so this study, we try to introduce the concept of we intentioned. So we want to understand trolling from a collective action perspective. we believe that it's not an individual behavior, it's more about group behavior. And we also apply the social technical perspective. We try to understand the interplay between social and technical elements in predicting the collective trolling on social media. Okay, more importantly is the implication for practice. So as a platform provider, what can you do, right? So now our results show that anonymity do play a role in affecting people's aggressive behavior or trolling behavior. So some suggestion is really about try to provide the linkage between the online and offline identities. You may want the users to provide more personal information, or maybe they can only use certain functions when they register with their personal data. So this may be something the platform provider can do. Think about LinkedIn, if you have used LinkedIn before. So people don't do trolling on LinkedIn, right? Because there's very strong linkage between your online and offline entities. Nobody will do something uncivilized on LinkedIn because they know people know them, right? They know they have the accountability. So that's why if for some of the social media platform, if they want to reduce all this, or if they want to maintain a healthier online environment, they may try to think about how to set the, digital profile of their users, how much they should release to others. So in terms of guardianship, so this has to be reinforced. That means the platform provider has to issue some zero tolerance policy with clear punishment. For example, if you are doing trolling, you'll be kicked out from the group, or you will not be able to use the group anymore. Just like Reddit, I think Reddit already done something like this. And then you may also implement some detective system, like using the AI or machine learning to detect some of the language, and then introduce the warning system. You may even do something like introduce the reporting system, let the users to report some of the trolling cases. And of course, because for example, like Reddit, they have a lot of subreddits. So they may want to empower the community moderator in terms of provide them with training, and also maybe giving them some recommendation how to deal with all this online trolling behavior. So that is something that the platform provider can do in order to combat all this trolling behavior. And then this is a very initial study. So the next thing we can do is we can test the model in other social media platforms. So Reddit is a very extreme case. So we know there are lots of trolling, harassment behavior on those platforms because it's really quite anonymous. So on other platforms like Twitter, Instagram may not be that anonymous. Okay, we want to see whether our models still work in other platforms. And that's why we have a second point, very similar. We want to see the different degrees of anonymity, how it influenced the collective trolling. So at the end, it's more about how we design the platform so as to, or what kind of design feature will promote collective trolling, or what kind of design feature will interfere collective trolling. So this is something that we will do, especially based on this result, we look at the different degree of anonymity. For example, how people set the digital profile, how this will influence their trolling behavior. So this is something that we plan to do in our next studies. And then, yeah, I think that's all for my sharing. So any questions? So I see some chat, I haven't checked any questions. So any question for me?
Hi, Christy. Frank here. I think can you just maybe stop your screen sharing so that I think right now only. Okay, so let's do this. Okay, so any questions from the audience? Feel free to type in those questions from on the chat window, or you can also raise any questions in the Q&A window. Before the audience have any questions, I think I myself have one question. It's actually quite interesting studies to be carried out by School of Business from my point of view. But one quick question. Just now, I think it prompts a debate on whether we should stay anonymous when we are doing or making any comments online. And with more and more governments, I think especially in the last year around the world, is trying to intervene to step in to make sure that on most of these platforms, we are going into the directions of not anonymous. We have to register our real identity to be on such a platform. I think in the future, I think Facebook it's along that directions, and some other platforms are also going into that directions. What's the point of view from Christy? If you have any comments on that going forward, should that be the way that we stop, or is it going to be a practice that stops a lot of freedom of speech on the internet? I think it's debatable, but what's your view on that?
Yeah, I think it's a good point. I also see this have this observation, like now they use the real name registration, right? They promote something real name registrations. So I don't see this is related to freedom of speech. I try to distinguish this always. You can still say something, right? With your identity, with their identity, you can still say something. But sometimes we call this if we use the real name registration. You use the real name registration, but somehow in your profile, it's still you're not identifiable, right? So this is something that we're trying to do. At the end, you're still traceable, but from other user perspective, you're still kind of anonymous. So that's why I would say this is something I'm going to test, like different levels of anonymity. So you feel that you are anonymous on the surface, but actually you're not really anonymous because people can trace you. That's why some study even say that they may also want to adopt blockchain in all the social media platforms so that they can trace who you are when you are saying something. But this is always a balance, right? Or always something debate whether this anonymity will affect freedom of speech. I try to say is not related. Think about Yahoo. Now they even shut down the comment section because there are too many trolling. Then is it freedom of speech? It's like now because people like doing too much, too extreme, so they have to stop it. So you don't even have a chance to say something because too many people doing all this trolling behavior. So at the end, we don't want to go to the extreme. So we don't want to have 1 or 0. So that's why we want people to behave. At the end, it's like how people behave. So of course, that's why we have this kind of talk promoting responsible use of technologies. We can have the freedom of speech to say something, but we also have the responsibility to not hurting other people. I think that's something we need to be clear. I don't try to mix up the freedom of speech and what people can say or not to say. Especially it's about bullying. It's about harassment. I think it's not something about freedom of speech. And the Yahoo example is the 1 or 0. If there are too many bullying, too much harassment there, so the platform really cannot control. At the end, they just shut it down. Then we really lose the freedom of speech. We cannot even comment on certain news or articles. So that's why at the end, it's really about how we educate the users, be responsible. Even though you may feel anonymous, but actually it's not. That's why I agree that the real name registrations. At least the company can trace who you are. Even though in the digital profile, you may not need to use your real name, but in certain registration stage, you still have to release your personal information to the company so that if you do really something bad, they can trace who you are. So that's why you're not like absolutely anonymous.
Okay, so there's some questions on the floor. One question's from the chat. What are we supposed to do, or how do we seek help when someone or a group of people are trolling us? And the second part is, how does social media regulations play a role in that right now?
Okay, the first point is that's something that we always suggest, just not to respond. So if you're being trolled or bullied, just not to respond. I mean, if you try, because think about the troller or the troll, so they will feel excited. They will feel, you empower them if you react to their comment. So the thing that people usually recommend the victim to do is just ignore, and then maybe leave the group for a while. Especially in Reddit, this kind of platform, nobody knows who you are, right? So you leave, nobody knows. So you don't need to be there. So the suggestion is, if you're really being trolled or being harassed, you don't need to respond first. I mean, and then second thing is, depends on platform. Some platform allowed reporting. So you may want to report to the platform provider, and then they will ban those troller. How does social media regulations play a role in that right now? Depends on the platform, not doing very well, I would say. Take Facebook as an example. So they do have a reporting system. So I do have a study about reporting. So when people being bullied, or when you see someone being bullied, you can report to Facebook. Okay, Facebook have a function. You right-click it, and then you can choose report the post. But my experience, or my research subject experience, is that usually Facebook doesn't respond very quickly. Sometimes they just don't respond. And then once you report, you are not sure whether Facebook has done anything. So that's something that in my other study, I try to say that Facebook should do more, because even you allow people to report, but you don't have any follow-up. So nobody knows whether my report has been handled. So for Reddit, I know is they're quite strict now. So all these subreddits, they can just, the moderator can close down the community, or the moderator can really remove the users or the members if they not behave well. So they have very clear guideline and regulation for Reddit. But those we still see some harassment behavior.
Okay, so all that also is on the platform's shoulder to organize and also play a set of sub rules within them to monitor and also to stop it. I believe in the future what this platform, because there are just too many users, and the only sensible way to do it is to develop a AI that's good enough to stop these kind of actions.
It take time. I mean, for the AI development, we take time, because language or conversation, AI need a lot of time to learn, especially all this trolling language.
Okay, so another two questions. What do you think about the cancel culture and its negative consequences? Do they have the same impact on a person as trolling?
I don't see the questions.
It's in the question and answer. So what do you think about the cancel culture and its negative consequences?
Cancel culture. Yeah, I think my students are doing this research. Cancel culture, exactly. That is similar to cyberbullying. And then with the goal of trying to make another person like disappear, or make another person not able to say anything. I would say this is the negative consequences that we are already, I mean, actually my student and I just do some research on this. So because of the cancel culture, people become more mindful about what they want to express. Because the cancel culture sometimes is when you leave your comment, opinion, not trolling, okay, not harassment, you just leave some comment, which is opposite to majority of people. Then people will attack you. People will try to do trolling and try to cancel you out, okay? But that's why people become less likely to express their opinion. So yeah, that's one of the consequences. It's like we don't see the diversity in the online community. People tend to be, or either they're very polarized. There's nothing in the middle. So yeah, there's some concern. It's like we call this what spiral of silence. People will speak less on social media, especially the opinion. They don't want to express their opinion.
So one last question on it. So if social media platform will ask for more information or reduce anonymity to tell everyone you work, would that be a potential breach in security because you have submit a lot of information on yourself? And what if people use that information against you to do from online to offline bullying or trolling?
Yeah, that's why the providing more personal information is not for the digital profile. It's really for the company. I mean, for example, for the platform to keep that so that you are traceable. But of course, this also weighs in a concern about the security, right? So this company will have the responsibility to make sure that your personal data is safe. So that's another issue. I mean, so that's why company doesn't want to take too much personal data, because there's also a risk for them to all this data breach or something like this. It's another issue. I mean, that's why there's no perfect solution, right? So that's why Yahoo just shut down the comment session. That's the easiest solution for them.
I see. Okay, well, maybe we answer one last question. What can you suggest for us to be aware of if we became influenced by trolling? For us to correct our behavior. So probably that question is answered in some of Christy's sharing previously. I think it's actually along the same line that the first and foremost, what you recommend is for us to take a step back and don't engage in any kind of trolling to play down the inference. Okay, so any other questions? Okay, if not, I think that that will be, it's almost 3:45. Thank you for your time, Christy. And I think this is very informative in a sense that just for the information of the audiences around, School of Business is actually I think just now in Christy's slides, you'll see that we are promoting be a responsible social leader. So I think the point on responsibility is actually very interesting. And the way, if you're actually opening up, I think the one good thing is general perceptions about finance and decision science to have a paper that's not exactly related on the monetary systems. And for those of you around who are interested in becoming a researcher in the business field, I think although not a lot of a lot of students automatically think that coming into for a business degree will end up being a businessman or going into the finance field or the commercial world in Hong Kong, but there is definitely a lot more to consider if you want to pursue research in business, which is what we are promoting as well. So for other people around, if you have any further questions, I will actually try to forward that to Professor Chung after this session, and then we will actually get it answered offline. Okay.
Yes, thank you very much. I mean, I like all the questions, very, very insightful questions. And I enjoyed the talk. And then thank you very much and have a good afternoon, good morning, or good evening. So take care, everyone. I have to go.
Okay.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye. Okay, so next up, we will do a quick introduction on the university. So this will last around 15 minutes. So if you have any questions about the university or any questions on our admission systems, feel free to also make your questions in the Q&A or chat box, or we'll actually answer them towards the end of the presentation. Okay. So Hong Kong, probably for those of you, I noticed that a lot of you are coming from everywhere around the world. If you have been to Hong Kong, or if you have not been to Hong Kong, this picture will probably be represented but in a lot of the TV commercials. And if you look up any movies about Hong Kong, you will see the skyline, you will see the business side, you will see concrete jungle. And Hong Kong is always a city that we promoting countless opportunities. So students, that's actually very true. That is demonstrated by all of our international students in Hong Kong. After you graduate in Hong Kong, that there will be a lot of chances for you to land a job in Hong Kong and continue your career in Hong Kong, and also to learn from the city. But apart from of course, this is well known to a lot of the people around the world. We are one of the most competitive economies in the whole world, and we are very successful in developing human capital and making wealth, and we are also on most of the global financial center ranking. That's actually the part of Hong Kong. I think a lot of the people outside of Hong Kong will know Hong Kong to be. But to a lot of our international students, Hong Kong is also a place that's a lot of nature side to these small cities. In fact, around 60% of Hong Kong's landscape is actually national park. So you will, things that international students do during the weekend, it's always, to go hiking in one of the mountain trails. We have some of the most beautiful hiking trails in the world. And of course, we are also a place where it's very rich in culture, because of our recent very rich histories. And also we are food paradise. I think that is also one part that a lot of people will know. So there will be actually, for those of you who are considering to come to Hong Kong for undergraduate studies for the 4-year or more than that you'll be spending in Hong Kong, there will be some balance of life between just studying. That you can also have a good nature during the weekends, also the off time. And about the university, the point, if you go and take a look at our university website, I think one of the main key themes that we have been developing throughout the last quite a number of years, we have been trying to promote that is to be true and be who you are. And we always use the tagline of be you, be unique. I think that's also highlighted in our most recent video that's actually promoting the university. And we are in Hong Kong, we are not the biggest universities. We are one of the medium to smaller size universities. And that's actually one of the reasons why we are not pushing ourselves very strongly in terms of ranking field, but we are pushing ourselves very strong in terms of student support. And we want to make each and every student who comes here to be a unique individuals, and we want to actually make you feel home. In Hong Kong Baptist University, we teach in English. So for most of the students around today, I think language is not a problem. So you can actually walk into the universities and start any courses if you have English background. Just played a small video to show you the footage of our university.
Welcome to Hong Kong Baptist University. 4 years later, she will be more confident and represent Hong Kong in a competition. A year later, this absent-minded guy will find out his favourite subject. He'll know how to look after himself after a year. 3 years later, he'll receive his technology award for the first time. Produced their first film in 5 years. 8 years later, he'll join a famous overseas orchestra. She will have revitalized a historic site and left a mark on the map in the next decade. They'll no longer dance 11 years later, but view their team leader's performance instead. They'll continue to unleash their talent in society in 2 decades' time. Back to the present. The most wonderful story has yet to start. Everything remains unanswered, but you'll have expectations, excitements, and hopes. Welcome to another starting line for many others. Welcome to Hong Kong Baptist University.
Okay, I think the video, very short videos, actually showcase some of our strong subjects. We still call ourselves, we wish to be actually aspired to become a liberal arts university, and we have strengths in many of the creative subjects. In the video, you will see that we have subjects like sports management, we have subjects like music, we have subjects like film and acting. I think those are some of the strengths that are with Hong Kong BU. Then also we do also have traditional subjects. In this particular program choices, you will see that we also have things like business, scope business, which Professor Christy Cheung actually presented. We also have art subjects. We have a very strong communication and film school, and we have unique Chinese medicines, and we're going to build the first Chinese medicines hospital in Hong Kong. We also have popular subjects in science, including computer science and biologies and chemistries and physics, which are in our faculty of science. And also we have social science and visual arts. In terms of the universities, we are rather, just as I say, smaller sized universities with about 7,000 undergraduate students. This may be considered as a large university in some other countries, but in Hong Kong, I think most of the universities, other universities in Hong Kong are above 10,000 students in size. So we are considered relatively smaller. But then we are very proud to have one of the highest student to staff ratio. And then we teach most of our classes in smaller classrooms. In fact, if you have the chance to tour around our campus, we don't really have a lot of large lecture theaters. Most lecture theaters, it's below 50 to 60 in capacity. So that will actually demonstrate, what are the class sizes among all the courses in HKBU. Also, we have a lot of student organizations. I think this is one big part of any students coming to another country to study, student organizations and also interest clubs. Socializations is actually a very, very big part for you to actually learn from the locals and also to learn the local cultures. So we will have a lot of interest clubs that you can join. And then most of our international students will join our international association as well. So there will be a community for you to actually support. And the university pushes a lot on experiential learning throughout. I think this is quite common among all the universities in Hong Kong that we strongly encourage students to go on exchange. So rather than just coming to Hong Kong, you will have the opportunity to study in another universities outside of Hong Kong for 1 semester. And most of the time, those studies outside of Hong Kong is also partially subsidized by the universities and the Hong Kong government. And there will always be, numerous field trips and study trips and service learning trips during the summertime. So you will have short and long field trips. And then we do actually have a lot of internships. I think working is a big thing in Hong Kong. So a lot of our students will actually get to complete 1 or 2 internships before they graduate to boost their employability. So all in all, I think the universities has pushed a lot on whole person development throughout the past years. And we have 4 themes. Be creative. Just now, I think we showed that we have a lot of subjects, especially in the creative side, but that will, even if you are not doing a degree program that's related to these subjects. For example, if you're doing a computer science course or you're doing a business course, we welcome all students to take some electives among these creative subjects to boost your imaginations and also to boost your horizon to more all-rounded in terms of thinking and intellectual person. And then there are a lot of projects, initiatives, for example, our Dream Big project that have funding supports for you to start and try something creative. And innovation, our School of Business is actually one of the first, I think right now it's still the only business school in Hong Kong that offers entrepreneurship as a major. So you can actually do a lot of innovative things, and including to start your own company or to do research if you are interested in actually engaging in research. A lot of our students during the summer times, they also help out some of our professors to do short-term research. So that is actually some opportunities that you can ride upon if you are doing an undergraduate degree in Hong Kong. And just as I said, going global, we have a lot of overseas partnerships that you can consider going in for exchange program. And also there are availability of a few double degree programs when you can spend 2 years in Hong Kong and 2 years in another country to complete 2 degrees in 4 years time. So you can check our website for those programs later on. And last but not least, be caring. It's definitely one of our strongest DNA. We pushes and encourages a lot of our students to go on to serve the community, either in the form of serving the Hong Kong community or in the form of an overseas service learning trip. So we hope that all of our students, that because as our name goes, Hong Kong Baptist University, we are formed by the Baptist Convention, but after that we became totally independent Hong Kong government funded universities, but we still have a lot of that Christian heritage in us that we wish all of our students to be developing into responsible citizens, and that one that actually serves the community. I think you can see the motto on our School of Business, to be a responsible business leader. So that is actually one of the backbone of our education in HKBU. Okay, so this is a picture of Hall Life, and I'm quickly going into the part when to talk about admissions and scholarships. I think one students actually asked about the scholarship criteria. So I will quickly go into the entrance requirements. Depending on which country you're applying from, we accept most of the different local qualifications. You can take a look at the total list, full list of qualifications that we accept from our website. This is actually down here. You can actually just search HKBU undergraduate admissions, and you can find information from there. But we take students with international qualifications. If you are coming from IB, we need an IB diploma. If you're coming from GCE, then the minimum that can enter the university is 3 AL subjects for E. That's actually the bare minimum. Usually we require higher than that. If you have taken your SAT, then we will require at least 1190 out of 600 in the new SAT. And others, check out our website for details. And then because we teach in English, we will also require our students to fulfill our English language requirements, which is notably either you can actually take IELTS, TOEFL, SAT as part of it, or IB. So the full list, just check out on our website to see the final eligibility. Or if you are in doubt at any point of time, just write to us. We will have an admissions manager to follow up with you on a one-on-one basis. Our applications, if you are waiting to enter universities next year, then our start of the 2022 cohort for application for that particular cohort will start on the 16th of September this year. So our application timeline is it's broken up into 3 phases. One is the early round, main round, and extended round. If you wish to be considered for any scholarships, I would strongly advise any applicants to start your applications in the early round. Although you might not have all your credentials or all your qualifications with you by 30th of November, you can submit everything that you have by the early round deadline, so that we will consider your applications. And then usually what we will do, if you are coming from backgrounds like IB and GCE, we do understand that you will only take your examinations at the end of the cycle. So we will normally be giving out a conditional offer. Because our admissions, our offers are being done on a rolling basis for international students, then the earlier you apply, then there will be more chances that you will actually secure some of our scholarships, because our scholarships are also kind of on a rolling basis. So applications, just very simple. Just go on to our website, admissions.hkbu.edu.hk, and then you can select a maximum of 2 program choices and update your latest transcripts. And then normally we will have interviews for many of our applicants. So the fees and scholarships, just a quick rundown on the fees. If you are applying for next year's, right now, if we only have the fee structures that is applicable to the 2021 cohort, but the latest fees you can actually refer to our website. But for our fees this year, it actually has not increased for 1 or 2 cohort already. So if you're looking at what we have prepared for, at least for those who came in the current cycle, the tuition fee is 140,000 Hong Kong dollar per year, and hall residence fee will be around 15,000 Hong Kong dollar, and then personal expenses, depending on your lifestyle, it will be around 40,000 Hong Kong dollar for 1 year. So that makes a total about it will be safe to prepare about 25,000 US dollar, in the range of that per annum. That is actually before if you don't receive any kind of scholarships. We have generous, I would say very generous scholarships schemes that's actually for our international students. So for all of our international students, applications will be considered for our university's admission scholarships. And our scholarship is actually based on academic credentials. So it is actually a merit scholarships. So we will consider your school results, your public examinations results, and then we also, apart from the academic side, we will also take into considerations your interview performances, because all of our scholarships recipients will actually go through interview, and then we will also take a look at how any other performances you have actually done in schools or during your secondary school times. For example, if you have won any kind of medals, be it national competitions, or you have done something or projects at your high school, that will also we will also take a look at those into considerations for your scholarships. We have a few types of scholarships. Full scholarships recipients will almost cover all the expenses, ranging from your tuition fee plus your accommodations and also some living expenses for the full 4 year. And apart from full scholarships, we will also have a tuition waiver, which will just have to take care of your living expenses in Hong Kong. And then we have a half scholarship, is half the amount of the full scholarships, and also some one-off scholarships offered by our recruiting faculty or schools. So basically, that's my presentations. Is there any questions? If you wish to understand a little bit more about the criteria, a particular criteria, maybe you can actually send me a message or a chat to state what you want to, which curriculums that you want to understand a little bit more, to see if we have a stated criteria for that. Any other questions from the floor? Okay. Okay, there's one more question. Let me see. Okay, so I think the questions is coming from Malaysian student. So you're asking about UEC results. So if you have, just as I said, if you want to submit your application, if you want to submit your applications before the regular deadline, you can actually do so with predicted score. So what we will require is whatever you have, just submit it first. For example, if you have your first semester results during the school results during the even if you don't have that by November, just submit your year 11 results. And then if you can get a predicted score from your counselor, then you can also submit that. And then just finish your application first, and then we will follow up with you if you are missing any documents. And for the questions, I think if you're asking if you want to submit in the early rounds, can you submit UEC trial papers results? Yes, you can actually do that, and we will consider that. And if you your UEC results is usually out in around the start of next year. So we will follow up with you on the actual results, and then we will issue conditional offer accordingly. So make sure you submit any applications on time. Okay, so if we are coming from GCE A levels, what would be the highest grades we need to get for full scholarships? So if you are coming from GCE A levels, right now this year we are requiring our full scholarships students to have at least 3A. So you have to have 3AL subjects, and we will need an A in each of them to be considered for a full scholarship. So any other questions? Okay, so if that's no other questions, then this will be the end of our presentation today. This session is being recorded, so if any of you have any want to review it, you may always go back to our website. You can actually review this presentation, also the webinar. But if you have any specific questions, my contact is being listed, I think, my email address is available in the presentations slide right now. So feel free to drop us an email so that we can get back to you if you have any questions relating to admissions. And also if you have further questions for Christy, then I can also forward that for you. Okay. Okay, I think one last question. If you have IB diploma and took English language, can the student use it to waive for the English course in HKBU? The answer is if you have an IB diploma with English classes, then if you scored 5 in that, then we can waive your entrance requirement, your English entrance requirement. But then if you have completed the whole diploma and you wish to further waive some of the subjects when you come into the universities, you can, those who are coming from GCE A levels or coming from IB, you can, after you enroll into the universities, you can apply for credit transfer. Then you can actually potentially get some credits from what you have studied in your IB or GCE A levels. Okay, so that's the end, and I hope you enjoy it. And if you have any questions, again, feel free to write us. And thank you for your time today. Thank you, and see you.